Hello and welcome to game 12 of the World Chess Championship match. We're tied 5.5, 5.5. This is for all the marbles. Fabiano, do you have what it takes? He has the white pieces and he can secure the World Championship by winning. The world champion is in his way, Magnus Carlsen, with the black pieces. Let's dive into the game. So like in the previous 5 games where Fabiano, the challenger from the United States, had the white pieces, he played e4. And he did so as well today. So Fabiano rated 28-32 against Magnus's 28-35. The world champion goes with c5, the Sicilian, for the 6th time in 6 games. Now, just like in games 8 and 10, Fabiano goes for the open Sicilian. And we have the Sveshnikov. Knight f6, knight c3, e5. This is the Sveshnikov. d6, stopping knight to d6 by white. And Caruana goes for this sideline with knight d5. This was also played in games 8 through not 8 through 10, games 8 and 10, where Caruana had white. So takes, and here Carlsen was the first to deviate. In the other games he played his knight back to b8, but in this one, knight to e7. And this adds a slightly different feel to the game. The knight has different options. If you go to b8, you're always coming to d7, but from here you can go to f5 or g6 with different kind of options. So Caruana doesn't go for a4 like he did against knight b8. Probably makes less sense. He goes for c4, which is the main move. Now here knight to f5 is the main move, but Carlsen goes for knight to g6. We again have the main move by white, queen to a4, bishop to d7, and queen to b4. And here we have an indirect draw offer by Carlsen. He plays bishop to f5. And here actually white can go back to a4 if he wants. Bishop goes back and the queen back to b4, and we have repetition. But fortunately, Caruana wanted to play with the white pieces and go for the world championship. So he played the most aggressive move. He played pawn to h4. Now this is hanging, you're right, but we can't take it. Carlsen played h5. If we take the pawn, we can just take the knight and give a check here on c7, hitting the rook and the king. So that is out of the question. And here Magnus actually played a novelty. Previously a6 had been played, and this was actually a game played in the Batumi Chess Olympiad last month, where Roganovic against Kramnik went a6 here, and Kramnik stayed aggressive with h5 and won a very nice game. In this game, however, Carlsen played h5, which is a novelty in human chess, but this move had been played before in a game between Houdini and Stockfish. Houdini with white and Stockfish with black, which ended in a draw. And Carlsen was playing this pretty fast, so he was well prepared for this. Now we saw queen to a4 by Fabiano. Bishop to g5 was the preferred move by Houdini. A move that makes a lot of sense. You kind of want to make black go f6, although Stockfish went queen b8. But okay, Fabiano went queen a4, so all those considerations don't really matter. And after bishop to d4, now it's Caruana that repeats the position, queen back to b4 and bishop f5. Seems like this was only mind games, and Caruana wanted to get, 2 moves closer to the time control. He already had less time because Magnus was better prepared, and just repeating the position like this, queen a4, queen b4, you get closer to the time control, you get extra time, and you get closer to getting extra time at move 40 if you're in time trouble. So a good practical decision by Caruana. And then he went with bishop to e3. Okay, the pawn here is attacked. Computer in some lines actually suggests just to give up a pawn to speed up your development. Bishop e7 castles, but Carlsen goes for a6, which was his first think in the game. Knight c3. And again, the computer wants to sack a pawn here. It says bishop e7 is its preferred move when black sacrifices a pawn for quick development. And this is certainly an option, but it's clear that Carlsen did not want to risk anything in the game, so he goes queen to c7, protecting the pawn. It's, you know, one game for all the marbles, and you don't want to sacrifice a pawn, get initiative, then have nothing for the initiative and just lose. It's just, that's not the way to go down with black. So queen c7, staying solid. g3 now by Fabiano. He's sort of playing all the moves to play against his knight. First he played h4, which was playing against the knight, threatening to play h5. Black prevented that. Now he plays g3, which plays against the squares that the knight can go to. Also, you can fianchetto your bishop in some lines. Bishop to e7. Black still keeping the options open. Will he castle kingside or will he go queenside? Here, Caruana's next move was criticized a bit. He played f3, which some say was the start of a wrong plan. And yeah, certainly things haven't really gone all that great for white. I mean, he has a solid position, but he hasn't gained anything. And the fact that black is able to go knight to f8 here and simply reroute his knight to d7, a much better square controlling c5, which is what he did. This kind of shows that white doesn't really have all that much. Maybe a slight edge still though. Okay, bishop d3 now. We do have a strong knight and it's well protected. And we also have some ideas now of maybe taking on d6, and this will be hanging. So Carlsen plays castles. So there's no more knight takes d6. And here, I think we have to say a bad move by Caruana, at least according to the engines. Maybe it's not all that clear to a human why it's not the best move and why it shouldn't be played. He played rook h2, which is sort of like an educated move, if you will. The rook is just getting ready in some lines to use the second rank, and it seems like he had set his mind on castling queenside and placing the rook on c2, sheltering the king, and maybe even in some lines thinking about pushing c5. Unlikely though, you don't want to open up the side of your board where you are castled, but also you can double in some lines and just play for g4 if you want to attack on the king side. Knight f6 was an option, perhaps not a very good one. Black will simply take, and okay, even though we have the bishop pair, this is very similar to lines you get in the Najdorf, where black has very good control of the black squares and a nice outpost for his knight. He can place a rook on the c file, pressure this, maybe play g6. A very solid position, nothing to worry about. So Caruana did not fancy that, and he played this rook h2 move. Plenty of good options here. Knight f6 is a good one, maybe just retreating with the queen to d2. But okay, he played rook h2. And well, why do I say it's bad? The computer actually says that there are 31 moves better than this one, which keep a white advantage according to the computer. So this was the 32nd best move according to the computer, and the first move that switches the evaluation over to black. And from here on out, it will be difficult for white because, well, Carlsen doesn't very easily let go of his advantage once he gets it. So he plays rook a to c8. Computer thought that playing bishop g6 first with the idea to play f5 was a better choice. Makes sense. Trying to push forward with your e and f pawns, trying to get aggressive. Caruana castles queenside. It's clear that he can't castle kingside. He might have been able to do that earlier and just claim an equal position and go from there, but now it's too little too late. So now Carlsen finally goes for this plan with f5. And after rook c2, he pushes f5. White didn't really have any good way to do anything about the f5 advance. But here another suboptimal move. Perhaps even the third one by Caruana. Giri thought he should just put the knight here on g5. Because he went to f2. And it doesn't seem to have a lot of prospects on f2. It's very defensive. Okay, you can go back to g5, but why not go there just in the first place? So it's kind of a passive knight there. Carlsen goes knight c5, and now actually White has to be careful. Okay, he can take on c5. This gives up the bishop pair. He did not do that. This looks like a very good position for black. Maybe queen d6, just blockading the pawn here. And you have these nice pawns here. You have the bishop pair, and you can set up, at your leisure, play rook b8, and get ready to play b5 at some stage. And it's black that's doing all the pressing, if and when he wants. So yeah, black has a lot of options, f4 and e4 type options in many positions, and seems like other times in the match, Caruana wanted to clarify the situation by fixing the pawns. Played f4. And here, Carlsen could have gone for it here with a move he didn't play, which is b5, a very strong move. Just trying to open up the position on the queen side, where we have the white king. And just to demonstrate, well, you can't take on b5 just to start with. I will take on d3, check, and then take on c2, checkmate. And they actually discussed this b5 move in the press conference. And Caruana, he thought, okay, bishop e2. But now we play a5. We can't take this pawn, because there's not going to be no way back for the queen. I haven't looked at it. Maybe rook b8, maybe even bishop e8, and the queen on b5 just doesn't have any squares. You can't go back to b3 because of the knight, so no way back for the queen. So the queen would have to go to d2, and now b4. And yeah, black is definitely for choice here. White probably has, I'm so tired. White probably has to take on c5, and we take back with the queen. It's been a long day. Work day, then I had to answer questions for the local media about the match, and then I had to write an article about the match, but we're getting this one done. We're finishing this one. It's the last game. So yeah, b4, and Caruana thought at the press conference, kind of maybe his only blunder of the day, that he could go f takes e5, but then just b3. You can't take because knight takes back with check, royal fork. And you can't move the rook because of b takes a2. Catastrophic. Well, cute line here. Yeah, there's no good way to stop the pawn. If king c2, I play f4 check. Pick up your bishop here. Discovered check. If you play rook a3, I will make us a queen. And gives a check. Yes, winning the queen. Very good, very good. So b5 would have been very difficult for white to deal with here. And actually the computer gives a very nice edge for black here. Well, not an edge, just a very nice advantage. But instead, Carlsen played a5. Trying to keep the position just under control. After queen d2, e4. So the position is a little bit locked down now. We have these locked down pawns here on the king side. These as well, really. And it's clear that it's only black that can really do anything, and that which he can do is to play b5 at some stage. You have to do some preparations, maybe place your rook behind the pawn, play bishop e8, and eventually b5, and white has to be careful. So bishop e8, it looks like black is gearing up for that. Okay, to start with, he's threatening to play bishop here, and if you remember, the knight coming to b3 was a dangerous threat. So in some cases we can play bishop a4 and then take with the knight. So that's why king b1, because there's no longer a check if I go to b3. So king b1, a prophylactic move. Sorry about that mouse slip. Knight a4 was not played. But now bishop f6, going to a diagonal. It looks like everything is starting to point towards the white king, setting up the bishop on a diagonal. b5 looks to be on the cards. Well placed knight. Storm clouds are forming for white, but after rook e1, Carlsen played a4, which was again heavily criticized, as it gives white the chance to go queen b4, which makes it more difficult for black to organize the b5 break, which is the way to go if you want to win the position. So Carlsen kind of makes it difficult for himself, but he's still better here. After g6, rook d1, rook a8. He still should be able to, at some stage, play bishop here, rook here. Maybe you can, poke around with some rooklets. But you can play for playing b5 eventually here. But shockingly, and yeah, to the shock of many of the greatest players of all time, Kasparov, Kramnik, even people that are close to Carlsen like Agdestein, Jan Ludwig Hammer, everybody was shocked here that Carlsen offered a draw after rook a8. Carlsen himself said at the press conference earlier in the match that his favorite player was himself 3 to 4 years ago. And well, we have to agree with that, because Carlsen from 3 to 4 years ago would not have accepted a draw in this position. He would have played on. He even had much better time. So a very curious decision, but at the end of the day, it turns out that Carlsen was just happy to draw the game. He showed it early that he was okay. He was content with the repetition, and it seems like he's taking like these game theory decisions. He took the decision in 2016, if you can remember that, in the last game against Karakin. The match was tight. He had the white pieces, and instead of preparing, he just played a very innocuous line with white through the game. So he didn't spend any time preparing, so just resting while Karakin and his team were preparing for the last game. So Carlsen sort of got an extra rest day, was ready for the match, for the tie breaks, and actually won in the tie breaks. And it seems like today he was more content with again taking his chances in 4 rapid games rather than taking the chance in this one game. Now, I'm not defending the decision or taking any sides. I'm just discussing the situation. He said he didn't really find a good way to move forward without taking too many risks. He didn't want to take any risks. And this is sort of why he played a5, if we go back to that, a5 and e4, because it just shuts down the position, stabilizes the position, still better for him. So he wanted to try without any risk, and he didn't see how he could do it without risk, so he just offered to draw. So for the first time, we have a world championship match where neither side is able to win a game. So maybe we will have a new world champion who didn't win a classical game. That would be rather strange, but maybe Carlsen will win it. The only way to find out is on Wednesday. But yeah, that was the strange and maybe somewhat disappointing 12th game of the match, but in any case, I think the tie breaks will be exciting, and I am at least looking forward to it. I'm also looking forward to going to sleep after a very long day. Thank you for sticking around if you're still here, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.